It's the Sports Peninsula podcast. Coming up, we're talking about the Tyson Fury Oleksandr Usyk fight this Saturday, May 18th, for the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship of the world. Both men are undefeated and vying to become just the 10th undisputed champion in the four-belt era. This fight will also crown the first undisputed heavyweight champion this century. Michael Big Chops Mills joins us from the Original Sports Podcast once again to help us preview this epic matchup. Now here is your Sports Peninsula team. Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Peninsula Podcast. My name is Dave Drzinski-Drew, and it is Thursday, May 16th. We're about 48 hours away from the Tyson Fury Oleksandr Usyk Heavyweight Championship fight that will unify the title for the first time this century. We're looking forward to that, and to join me to discuss this and more versus our man, Detroit's finest, Jay Money, Justin Miracle. And Justin, how you doing?
I'm doing great. This highly anticipated matchup. I just can't believe it's happening. So I'm ready to see this fight kick off.
Yeah, we're all a little surprised it's finally actually happening, I think. And we got our guy Chops here from the Original Sports Podcast again. Chops, how you doing?
Man, fellas, I'm ready for this one. I'm finally.
Hey, I want to thank you again. I got a chance to be on your guys' show a couple days ago talking some boxing as well, and a great show, Original Sports Podcast. Everyone needs to check that out.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. We had a good time. We got to get Justin on there, too. We got to get Jay Money with us. It was a good time.
Yeah, definitely. It was. You guys are very knowledgeable. So very entertaining, folks. Check that out. Fans of our podcast should be fans of that podcast, too. So check them out on YouTube. They got a Twitter handle. And I don't know if you have that, Chops. We'll probably drop that later. Make sure everybody has that as well. So folks can get a hold of you guys. So let's talk about this fight, fellas. We've been waiting a long time. It was supposed to happen in February. And then Fury had some issues with a cut, and we'll talk about that in detail. But here we are, finally, it's happening in Saudi Arabia. So they're gonna finally have at it here. It's gonna be a 12 noon start for the card. 6 p.m. main event when they start the ring walk. So we'll actually have our bearings together for this one. It's not a midnight fight finally, so it's kind of nice for us. But we're a little spoiled here in America. I know in the rest of the world they suffer for that. But guys, start out, Chops. Your thoughts right now? When you look at the tail of the tape here, I mean, these guys are pretty much they're close in age. They're both undefeated, but man, Fury's got a hell of a size advantage.
You know what the crazy part is, which I didn't even think about this, fellas, to be honest with you?
What's that?
Usyk is older than Fury. I never thought about it. Because just like Lomo's been around for a minute. Well, he doesn't have many fights. No. He's up there, and everybody knows Lomo, but he hasn't had many fights. Usyk the same way. I didn't realize, fellas, as much as I know about him, I would have lost money if you'd have told me he only has 20 fights. I would have. But it also now is depressing to me in sort of an aspect, because I look at it this way. We're talking about the heavyweight champ going for the undisputed title, baddest man on the planet, and the guys are 34 and 36. That's old. In boxing life, that's old. You know what I mean?
It is.
It is. And that to me is it's the state of boxing these days, especially the heavyweight division. It is in my book.
Yeah, I think you can get away with it more as a bigger guy, because I think I'm probably living evidence of that. Is living proof. It's very, very difficult to come down in weight as you get older. Where I could hit 145 at one point when I was 18. There ain't no way. No way I'd ever get there again.
But even on that aspect, if some of the guys in the smaller weights got older, you still don't see a lot of 35, 36-year-old guys fighting for the belts that we're looking for. You know what I mean? Crawford, but we know he's a freak of nature. You know what I mean? Yeah. But even the fact that you're 34, 36, think years and decades past, there was always those young bulls coming up that the older cats, you know what I mean? That's what we're missing that. I am, at least.
No, I agree with you, definitely. And I think athletes are changing in general. I mean, you look at the sports. I mean, Jim Brown was a freak of nature at 6'2" as a running back. Pretty common now.
Yeah.
He's big guy. And hey, Just, I wanted to ask you, because I saw kind of the ballet dance workout that they do for the media, about 3-4 days before the fight. And it was interesting because both of these guys I mean, Usyk's a southpaw, Fury's orthodox. They were both fighting opposite hand in that fight when they were hitting the mitts. What were your thoughts on that?
I think it's just good old psychological warfare that we've seen so many times in boxing, and it's popped up and happened once again because Usyk and his team are questioning the canvas, the seams on the canvas, and people are calling out Usyk saying, "Oh, Fury's got him rattled. He's in his head." Fury did the same thing, him and his camp a few years back. They did, it's just part of the game. That's what I love about boxing more so than any other sports is all this psychological warfare going on. We got a little bit of taste of that with the last big fight with Garcia, acting all, and he could very well still be off the rails, but he had a lot of us, fooled with that Haney and Garcia matchup. So I just think it's good old psychological warfare. And to echo Chops' statement and sentiments on these athletes that are older, I too thought that Usyk was younger than Fury. But like we've seen in all sports now, athletes are figuring out ways. We're getting more data, supplements, longevity in each sport on what they can do to take care of their bodies to still perform at a high level. Maybe not the highest level as, say, like a 20, 25-year-old, definitely in the boxing world, but these guys are still getting it done. They're still hanging in there. And to both of their credit, there's no younger guys in this heavyweight division that are really stepping up.
and that's it, because when we think about all the other sports, whether it's baseball, football, some of these older quarterbacks, and normally the older guys that are playing are like a quarterback because you can't touch them. They don't need to be able to move and whatever have you. They're not getting touched as much. But in boxing, you can't help. You know what I mean? It's just how 34 and 36-year-old guy, and that's the biggest fight on the planet right now. It just blows my mind, man. It does. The fact that they can still do it and compete, I get. That to me is where they learn how to work their bodies, the nutrition, everything is different. But the fact that that's it, there's no in the heavyweight division, we can't think of the Tank Davis, the Tanks, the Shakur Stevens, the young cats. There's young cats in those divisions that are coming up, you know what I mean, that everybody's chomping at the bit to see. We don't have that in the heavyweight division. We really don't. So I'm interested to see what happens in the landscape of the heavyweight division after this fight. What happens?
So as I mentioned in the intro, the winners, the undisputed heavyweight champion, will be the first time in this century an undisputed champ's crowned in the heavyweight division. And I had mistakenly said that Usyk could be the second four-belt undisputed champion in two weight classes in the males, but actually he would be the third. One of our viewers actually commented Bud Crawford was one of them. I had forgotten Bud. He had the super lightweight, I think, or it was, I believe, and then he jumped up right away.
Yeah.
So
and
he's still in good company.
You talked about how they each switched stands when they were hitting the pads. Being honest, neither one of them looked good. They didn't look good to me hitting the pads, and that they just didn't. It looked like they were going through the motions, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's that's something you got to, number one, have a natural ability for. Number two, you better be working on it constantly. And quite frankly, in the limited time I've had or being around boxing trainers, they discourage it. They practice what you're good at and become great at it. Don't try to be fancy and cute.
Man, the adage was for years: if you can fight conventional southpaw, you really don't have a stance. You need to pick one. You know what I mean? So I think it was them just trying to show what they can do, but I don't think either one's going to come. I think they're going to dance with who brought them. You know what I mean? They're not coming. I don't think they are. And
good
if they
old
do,
theatrics. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It makes
getting
sense.
fans a little riled up, a little bit more excited than usual.
A little treat for the ladies. Throwing this up here, the Gypsy King on the left. This is how he looked against Ngannou back in, I think, was that late October, early November when they fought, or was it earlier than that? I'm trying to remember. But quite a transformation on the right. Now,
okay. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say an extra 3 months certainly would help you get to that level. And I was just curious because I just think that's he's in great shape. But I mentioned this on your show too, Chops, on the Original Sports Podcast. I'm like, seemed like he really benefited from that extra 90 days.
Cool, without question. But do you remember after Andy Ruiz beat Joshua, then they were showing pictures on social media that he lost all his weight, he had his abs, but then once you saw him in the ring, it was like those were photoshopped. I'm really waiting to see, because if you go back and watch when your boy Fury is hitting the pads, go rewatch that. He's wearing a shirt. First off, if you're looking like that, why would you be wearing a shirt? Number two, look at his midsection right above the belt line. It still looked like he was a little soft in there. So I'm interested to see come Saturday night if we're being able to count his abs like they're right there. I'm interested to see.
And Justin, I'm curious your opinion on this, because we've talked many times. And Chops, you've always said this. When you get too lean, it starts hurting your endurance factor in those late rounds. And any concerns there, Justin, if this is legit?
I would say I wouldn't be overly concerned. I would be slightly concerned. I only say that because he carries his weight well. A lot of people may not like it. They're like, oh, that's the heavyweight champ. And I said, like it or not, this is peak male performance body and a champion. But he carries his weight well. It's just like there's some people that work out and they may not look fit, but they are fit and they can hang with you throughout the whole workout and probably outperform you as well. This is the same thing with Tyson Fury. So I would be a little bit just slightly concerned if he does in fact look like that. Yeah, he might be leaner and stuff, but he may not be used to that. I don't care about sparring and all that. That's not the real thing. So get inside the ring and you're that lean, considerably more than you've ever been in your career. I don't know, like Chops was saying, I don't know if that'll translate well with the punching power and the movement. Even though he is lighter, he's as a big man as he is, he carries that weight very well. Yeah. And I believe his endurance is up there too. I mean, just go and watch those Wilder fights too. I mean, incredible stuff. So yeah, that's my take on that.
You know what they say, man, muscles need oxygen. And if you're so much more fit now, you have to be in better shape because your muscles are going to need that oxygen. But I asked this. He was always known, since he was so big, so tall, so heavy, he could lay on his opponents. Yep. You lose some of that weight, it doesn't have the same effect. And now, do you think, if this is him on the right, if that's truly him, does he lose this weight? One, because he's tired of people saying how ill-built you are and you should be champ, which at this stage of your career, why does it matter? Did he do that for endurance so he can go longer because he knows Usyk is going to be in his face and want to fight dirty the whole fight and, make it a fight? Or three, is he truly realizing I don't have much real knockout power, so I'm going to have to go to the distance, and I'm going to have to be on my toes the whole time? I want to know what made him, people born around don't die square. You are who you are. And why all of a sudden has he changed now? Nah, that's just, I don't get.
I'll take first crack at it. I think I know I've heard him. He does have a lot of respect for Usyk, even though the last couple of days we have not heard that. It's been the typical bravado, and like you say, you called him some names. Like, what does that mean? It's like you can't figure it out. But at the end of the day, I think he realizes that he's against a guy that really is a heavyweight and a cruiserweight in a heavyweight's body, and he moves like it. And Usyk's gonna go 12 rounds. He could do that all day long. His endurance level is amazing. He just has a motor that doesn't quit. So very, very important to be in top physical shape to be able to move fast enough. And he's fast as it is. I mean, as big as he's been is that's one thing about Fury. He's amazingly quick for a man his size. A very good boxer. But that's my take on it. I don't know what your thoughts, Justin.
I think he's just doing it just to do it. If you go way back, when he, he was way bigger than what he used to be and lost all the weight and, being motivational to young people and older people like that have a hard time, with losing weight or being bullied and whatnot. I just think he did it just to do it. Maybe just to prove to himself, he's done everything else. So why not just try to get it, I guess, lean? I don't think it comes into play with strategy and whatnot, because like you just mentioned, he carries his weight really well. He boxes really well. positioning in the ring, the angles, very well for a man of his stature. So I go back to, I'd be slightly concerned if he's changing this weight for his strategy, his overall strategy for this fight, because I would think that would be not good. That would be a bad thing for him to go into this fight with that kind of strategy.
That makes sense. So I'm going to warn the viewers now. In about 3, 2, 1, I'm going to show the next slide, and this is why we had a postponement. On the bottom right here, you can see the cut that Fury took in a training camp in sparring an MMA fighter who actually hit him with an elbow. And we talked about this one in detail as well on the Original Sports podcast. And you look at the upper left corner, that's the fight he endured in that fight against Otto Wallin that you see up there. I would argue that fight gets stopped if Otto Wallin is Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua or somebody that's a contender, or Usyk in this case. Chops, I got to ask you, I mean, I know it's a little far-fetched, but I've raised an eyebrow at it myself, but do you think Fury was that concerned that he needed additional time, that he actually let that happen to get that extra time? I don't want to be like a conspiracy theorist, but it seems rather odd because he didn't react to the hit.
Fellas, I said when he got hit, first off in sparring, that was going to be up to date till his biggest payday. He gets hit with an elbow, not even a punch follow through, an elbow. And as soon as he starts bleeding, he didn't start cursing. He didn't throw his hands up. The guy who hit him he didn't start apologizing, which to me was like, when I sent it to you guys, I was like, fellas, just watch everything. Now, here's what I find most intriguing, for lack of a better term. Those cuts, same eye, on that eyelid. Fellas, in dirty, Usyk is getting to that eyelid. He's getting to that eye. And it's going to be interesting to see what his cut man can do, because Usyk is going to touch that eye. We know this.
Yeah, especially being a southpaw. It's right in line with that left cross. And Justin, I was watching some clips of the Joshua fights with Usyk just to kind of get ready for this one. Just a little scouting, right? And he throws a lot of times when he throws his left cross, it's almost a lunging punch. So he's throwing his whole body into that. Now it's a high risk, high reward type of punch, but at the same time, I'm wondering if he's losing a little steam off of it because he's not keeping his feet on the ground and not getting some real torque into that shot. He's actually leaving his feet a lot of times. It's almost like a lunging hard jab, but it's pretty accurate. It's going to hit that spot in the eye. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so to answer your question, I actually read on Twitter somewhere, I can't remember the source, that that is a rumor that Usyk and his camp are focusing on this eye or eyebrow on Usyk. And like you said, Usyk has to, leave his feet. I mean, Tyson Fury is, 6'9", he's a giant. And Usyk is no small man either, 6'3", but, comparing 6'3" to 6'9", yeah, you're going to have to get up there. But going back to this eyebrow, I can talk from experience in my MMA days when I sparred a guy real tall, about 6'3". He was lanky, a good fighter, experienced fighter. And in sparring, I inadvertently hit him with an elbow, and he was gushing blood like crazy. He actually had to have to stop sparring, and he ended up getting 20 stitches in his eyebrow, and it was leaking like crazy. So,
what was your reaction?
I mean, my initial reaction was, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Like I stopped right away. I didn't continue throwing shots at him.
And he knew, but you showed, man, I didn't mean to do that, which his sparring partner didn't.
Yep, he knew it was incidental, and I felt terrible. I felt bad, that he had to get stitches. I mean, he was gushing blood like crazy. So if I was Fury, I would be concerned about that because of, Usyk, he's very violent, and when he throws these shots, like you said, Drew, when he leaves his feet and he connects, I mean, this could be very bad, and this could not be the outcome that we wanted, especially if, say, there's a stoppage or whatnot. We just don't want to see something like this, but it could be a potential outcome in this fight.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a key thing that's going to be talked about at length, I'm sure, in the pre-fight commentary as well. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. But let's talk keys to victory, gentlemen. The Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. we talked pre-show here a little bit, just kind of going over what we've got here. He's got to stay active with that jab. I mean, he has about an 8-inch reach advantage, chops, 6-inch height advantage, and Usyk does his best work, like you said, to get down and dirty. He gets inside in the phone booth. Number one, do you think Tyson Fury will be effective in doing that? Is he going to be able to stave him off for the whole fight like that?
I don't believe he will. But everybody knows it's great to have the advantage. But even when Tyson was in his prime, he was always short on his opponent, but he would out jab him because the jab is all in timing, right? Sure. Now, Fury's jab is right now one of the best in heavyweight division, if not the best in heavyweight division. So yes, he'll be able to stay active with the jab. That's his bread and butter. He's not going to change with that. However, what I'm interested to seeing is, like we had said, when he first came to Top Rank, he said, don't bring me smaller guys. He didn't want to fight smaller guys. Now you have a smaller guy that can bang. Fury's not known as a knockout artist. So you can take one or two of his blows to get inside. And I think Usyk is going to do that. You know what I mean? So my thing is I'm interested to see if Fury establishes that jab. How does Usyk adjust? Because you're going to have to, because you've never fought anybody this height. And if that jab is working, you're going to have to switch the game plan midstream. On Usyk's side, or should I say on Fury's side, if your jab isn't working, right? If your jab isn't working and you now have somebody that's inside your rib cage, inside that pocket, how do you adjust? That's what I'm interested in seeing. That's what I want to see on both fighters. Who has to adjust first?
Yeah, and in Justin, it's going to be interesting to see what they actually hit the scales at tomorrow. I think it's around 1:00 in the afternoon when they're going to hit the scales. But I mean, if that picture's legit, I'm going to guess Fury's around 255. If that picture's legit, I'm not sure what Usyk's going to come in at though. But he still have probably a 35 pound weight advantage. But the Chop's point earlier, normally he has like a 40 to 50 pound weight advantage, and that will, and when he's trying to lean on a guy, it's going to make a difference. What are your thoughts? I think that's a good point Chop's brought up. If the jab's not working, what's Fury's plan B?
This is what I like to see Fury do, and not a whole lot of people I think are talking about it, but attack Usyk to the body. We know in recent fights, there's been some controversy there, whether it was too low or whatnot, but I don't know. I think Usyk can get severely damaged, say, if Fury keeps him busy with that jab where it's not working and surprises him and lands some body shots, because we know Fury has some heavy hands. So if he lands some good body shots on Usyk, obviously that'll slow him down, because that's what Usyk likes to do. His stamina endurance is, very, very good, especially, at the heavyweight level. So if his jab fails or his plan is not going to his liking or his corner's liking, I say throw in some unconventional punches there, especially body punching.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
Makes a lot of sense. Yep. Any thoughts on that, Chops?
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
You're Fury. You're his coach. You're his team. Are you worrying and looking at that straight jab, changing levels, hitting the body, straight in the torso? Or are you trying to use that longer extension coming around, hitting that kidney shot, hitting that, not so much kidney shot, but, like the liver shot to the side, to the rib cage? What are you focusing on?
I like, first and foremost, I would like to see him going downstairs to the bread basket, basically with a straight jab, or even a cross, keep him honest. And then if he can make him uncomfortable, if Fury can make Usyk uncomfortable doing that over time, rounds 5, 6, 7, then maybe he'll start landing in the head area a little more effectively. He's going to have to start protecting his abdomen, his rib cage. Obviously a liver shot would be ideal. It's, Fury's got quick hands, so I would say I don't think he should be head hunting. That's for sure. And I agree with Justin. I think there's something to that, the body shots to Usyk, because I don't believe, in my personal opinion, that those shots were low from Joshua. And when he went down, it was ruled a low blow. I looked belt line, but that's just me.
Yeah. So I feel you, because I thought it was borderline too, but we'll see, man. And keeping a steady tempo, I'm gonna see how, again, his conditioning, if he's in that shape. See, running outside conditioning is significantly different than boxing conditioning. So he's put the road work in. I get that. And he's got the sculpted abs, so on and so forth. But I want to see, is he boxing shape on the aspect of keeping the steady tempo? Because, fellas, you can't tell me the last time a guy was in his bread box. Wilder wanted to fight him from a distance. Dylan White fought him from a distance. All these guys that are just as big as him or just as tall as him with a long reach. Now you've got a guy who is used to being the shorter fighter, who's used to being at reach disadvantage, and he's still number one contender. So this is going to be more of an adjustment for Fury, to me, than it will Usyk. Now, I understand Fury is significantly taller. What is he, 3 or 4 inches taller than, I don't know, how tall is Joshua?
6'4",
6'5"?
Joshua's 6'5", but Usyk's 6'3", and then Fury's 6'9".
Yeah, so he's fought taller fighters and Joshua, whatever, and more athletic guys. But now 6'9" with a great jab. So will he as in Fury be able to keep up his tempo if he's got a guy in his rib cage the whole fight and fighting him dirty? I mean, fellas, there's a lot of storylines. This can go a lot of different ways. I'm ready for this one.
Oh yeah, definitely. And let's talk about the cat, Oleksandr Usyk, who, he's got the WBA, WBO, and IBF titles in this one. Fury's got the WBC, and he's the lineal champion. But it's amazing. It's like Fury's still coming in as basically, in essence, like he's the champion, and against the number one contender, like you said, Chows, and really Usyk's got more belts. But let's talk about what he needs to do, and we kind of touched on it a little bit. He needs to be prepared that the game plan is going to be, he's going to be getting steady jabs early and often, and they're going to come quick. So my question to you, Chops, is, this, and you got to get inside, and you said, we know Fury, he's got knockout power, but he's not a knockout artist. So if you're Usyk, do you say, I'm gonna test him early? I want to feel it early because I want to get the feel for it now because I want this thing to go 12 rounds. What are your thoughts?
Yes, but it's how you do it. Go in cautiously, because you gotta go in the lion's den. You gotta go in the lion's den to work your game plan, because you're never gonna beat him on the outside. Don't even worry about it. But knowing and thinking, okay, he, as in Fury, is not a knockout guy. One thing you can say about Ukrainian fighters, fellas, they're coming to scrap, win, lose, or draw. They are coming to fight. So Usyk is coming to fight. So having said that, be smart about it. Be smart about it. But you have to sell out and get into that body. And when you get in the body, throw punches and bunches, because you don't want him tying you up. Because as soon as they tie him up, ref separates you, he, as in Fury, is already to pop that jab again. You know what I mean? So get in there. If you have to do the old Tyson, bob and whatever it may be, the pendulum, you have to get in close. And when you get in close, fire away. Do not hesitate. Don't hesitate.
No, that's a great point. And then Justin, when we talk about the cut over the right eye, that's tailor-made for a left cross. And we talked about it. That's the game plan. How can you exploit it? And do you want to? Are you going to set him up for that, or are you going for it right away? I guess that's my question. What would your strategy be with Usyk?
I think, along with what Chops was saying, you got to go at him right away. You could try to set it up, but these guys are heavyweights. They're going to bang it out. But I think what Usyk needs to do, change levels. And like Chops said, throw punches and bunches. Use your stamina, endurance, and your speed and your cardio to really beat down Fury. Get in and get out. Get in and get out. Don't hang around like too much. That's what Chops is saying. Fury's got those heavy hands. Hit you with one of them jabs, and then you're in no man's land. Then you're susceptible to any kind of, like I just said earlier, an unconventional punch, talking about Fury against Usyk. But Usyk's, I think his major keys of victory is that footwork. Keep it going. If you remember in that second fight with Joshua, he got in on him early. And I think that's what he needs to do with Fury. Get in on him early and show him, hey, I'm going to get in the phone booth with you, and this is what I'm going to do, and there's nothing you could do about it. And, yeah, I'm going to eat some punches. I know it. But we all know Usyk's a tough guy. He can take a punch. So this is what he needs to do. And he's just got to keep the pedal, to the metal and just not give up. Because once you give up, give, Fury a little inch, or get him a little breather. We've all seen what Fury can do in recent years, Get that second win. Do not let Fury get that second win. You do that, it's going to be game over for Usyk.
Yeah. And Justin, you know this, like you said, from your MMA days. If you're sparring with someone that is a wrestler, they won't even touch gloves when we first start because I don't want you to be able to get the measuring.
They shoot right away, as in
exactly. So having said that, Usyk, when you come out at the beginning of round one, don't stand in front of him. Do not stand in front of him. You know, like a lot of guys will stand in front, head, but don't do that because you're already too far away. You know what I mean? So to me, as soon as they hit it, work your way in. Right in here, in this area is where you need to be all night, doing that dirty boxing, making it grimy, just making it grimy. But I'm interested to see this. You know what I mean? I really am. And
don't let Fury tie up with you either and lay on you and stuff. Because casual boxing or just regular boxing fans, you know, when a fighter does that, especially at the heavyweight level and especially with a big size advantage like this with Fury over Usyk, that does play a factor. Will drain you. That will take your power out, your breath out. And it's exhausting. I mean, imagine having a 6'9" heavyweight champ laying on you.
Yeah.
And I know Usyk's in incredible shape, but that is a big man to be trying to get off of you or the ref trying to come over and break it up. And this is going to be happening repeatedly in the fight. So Usyk needs to find a way to not get himself in too many of those situations. It's going to happen 100%, but he can't continue on the whole fight.
And you're absolutely right. And the crazy part is, fellas, for two different reasons, both guys need their legs. Both guys. And I say that because Usyk needs them to be able to stand up and be fresh to get inside because Fury's going to lay on him. That's going to drain you. That is going to drain you. Fury needs his legs to be strong and be fresh because you need to be on your bite the whole time. You don't want to get in close. And it's just, fellas, there's so many different ways this could go. I to be honest with you, on the one hand, I'm ticked because again, it's taken us so long to get here. Yeah. But now we're here. And again, of course, I can't wait to be in front of the TV Saturday night to watch it.
And that's a perfect segue into our predictions here, because when we're doing that and we're watching this and we're scoring it, what do we think is going to happen here? Justin, I will start with you. Your prediction.
Been struggling with this leading up to this show, going back and forth. I like both of these guys. I like their styles. But I'm going to go with Usyk here. I just think his stamina, endurance, and cardio, like I just mentioned, and the way that he can get in, he could take punches. And I think he'll infuriate Fury with, the endurance factor. And I think he will, hurt Fury at times. But ultimately, I think it's going to go the distance. And Usyk is going to be awarded a split decision.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Chops, how are you seeing this?
Fellas, honestly, I hate to be this guy, but right now I am so split. And honestly, as the fighter and it gets dirty and the way it's going to go, I would go Usyk. I really would, because I think he's going to make it dirty, whatever have you. But can Fury come out and just dominate that jab? I'm going to go with Fury. Usyk. I'm going Usyk because I just don't think that jab can stand up the whole night of Fury's. I'm going to go Usyk.
I'm going to go against the grain for once, guys. I am going to take Fury, it was a struggle. I've struggled with it all week. I struggled with it when on your show, Chops, being asked about it. So I was like, I don't know. I'm not super confident in this. In me saying this, but I think Fury will get the UD unanimous decision. Quite frankly, for some reason, I think if I'm Usyk, I don't want it to go to the cards. I just have this sick feeling that for some reason the judges might favor the Gypsy King a little bit. Don't know why. It's just one of those things.
I got you.
That's never happened before, right?
I know.
I think it's gonna be a hell of a fight. I guess where I'm coming from is I've seen Tyson Fury get hit by a huge puncher in Deontay Wilder. Even though I know he's kind of a one-trick show, it's a hell of a punch, that right cross, and he's felt that he's been down on the canvas, I think 3 times total from it. And he's been able to get up every time. So he's got a hell of a chin. I'm not sure Usyk can bring that kind of power. I know he can't in one single punch, but I know he's got a lot of power. And I think if he can get at Fury early and maybe hurt him, not knock him silly, but just hurt him, get his attention real quick, that could plant a seed of doubt, and that could change things in my mind, how that would work. When he fought Joshua, especially that second fight, it was a pretty straight up fight, pretty back and forth, but there were a couple of rounds, I want to say the 8th and the 10th, where he really stepped up and went at him, and he kind of overwhelmed him. I'm not sure he can overwhelm Fury inside like he did Joshua, but it's going to be, I wouldn't be shocked if you guys are right. Quite frankly, my confidence is a little shaken after the Haney fight, because I really felt strongly there was no way he was going to lose that fight. And I know, we'll get sample B tested here real quick and finally get the results from Garcia. But at the end of the day, I still was very surprised that happened. So I got to go with Fury. So we're going to see.
And Drew, I'm feeling everything you're saying. I'm co-signing for everything you're saying. The only thing I think where they're different, because Usyk is never going to have that power that Wilder had. We get that, fine. However, if that punch, what was that, in the 11th round? 11th round, the first one he knocked him down, was that 11th or 10th? Whatever, it was late when he knocked Fury down.
Oh, that was in the 12th round.
Okay, yeah. Now, here's the thing. If Usyk hypothetically can drop him that late, Fury may not get up. And I say that only because Usyk will work the body where Wilder didn't. Usyk is going to work that body throughout the fight, which I think will make a difference.
That would make a tremendous difference.
I'll throw this out there too. Just my little cast of doubt, shadow of doubt on Fury is that Ngannou fight bothers me. It really bothers me. And I know Francis Ngannou, stepping up into the boxing world, he's a talented MMA fighter, but there's no way that you should step into the boxing world and do what he even did a little bit to Fury. There's just no way. You as a boxer, especially heavyweight champ, you should put guys away like that. I don't care how talented they are at MMA. They step in a boxing ring, they're hitting the canvas, and it's good night. You're putting on a clinic. And Fury didn't do that. I don't think he took him seriously. I think he took the fight seriously. So that's my little doubt on that, not taking away Fury's abilities, but that just casts that shadow of doubt for me.
And Justin, I've been saying it since what Joshua did to Ngannou is what every boxer should do to every MMA guy that comes over. Because if it's strictly boxing, that's what should happen to every MMA guy, every one of them. Now, with Fury, you're like you saying, on the one hand, like, you didn't take it seriously, right? And just being honest with you, how can I say this to make it? Because it's going to be crazy because he has a belt and he has a champion, he's undefeated. I don't know if Fury has ever come across as the guy who wanted it. You know what I mean? You've never heard people say, oh, Fury had a great camp. Look at him. He's in shape. Look at, he's ready. He's got the look. He's ready. You've never heard that. So I don't know. You know what I mean? So on that aspect, I don't know if he took it like every other fight or what he did. But I know nobody's ever really worked his body. So we don't know how you know what I'm saying? So
you're right, because if you go back to last year with Bud Crawford leading up to that fight, with what's his face, drawing a blank now. Yeah, Spence. Mm-hmm. If you watch that leading up to the fight with his training and whatnot, you could tell like he wanted it. Like he was no doubt. I'm getting this. He went off somewhere with his family, and trained, his butt off. And obviously, we saw what happened that night. But you're right, Chops. With Fury, yes, he's a talented fighter, but I just don't get that sense from him. Like, oh yeah, I want it. Like I want it this bad, and I want to stay champ. It's kind of like, okay, I'm champ, but if I lose, whatever. I make my money, and I get to go hang out and go to all the, the British pubs and drink and have fun with people.
Yes. Every time, real quick, when I think of Fury, I think of remember Hagler. Hagler used to say, it's hard to get up and do road work at 5 a.m. when you're sleeping on satin sheets. You know what I mean? But he put the time in. I just don't know. Man, Fury, I don't know, man. But I'm interested to see this one. I really am. Let me ask you guys this real quick. Mm-hmm. Regardless of who wins, what happens? If Fury wins, does he retire? If Usyk wins, does anybody want to see Usyk Wilder? Does anybody want to see Wilder Fury again? What happens?
That's a good question. I still think if Fury wins, I think there's a 50% chance he hangs it up finally for good. Now I think regardless of the outcome, they're pushing for a rematch from what I've been reading, early 2025. Okay. I guess it depends on how the fight shakes out. If it's a very close fight, I think there's a stronger possibility for that, and maybe they'll get some more pay-per-view buys. Now, if Usyk fights, there was a prevailing thought that he may retire, but I think he made a statement that he'd like to go till age 40. So that's another 3+, almost 4 years left in the tank for him if he wants it. But then, to your point, Chops, who's out there? So
you're right. And then, real quick on that aspect, if they do go, think about this. This is May, end of May. If they fight, hypothetically, they could do this again in 6 months. That would be serious. I mean, they wouldn't, but fighters have been known to do that. It really wouldn't. So now, if we wait early 25, we're looking at a 38-year-old Usyk. You know what I mean? It just, I don't know, fellas. I don't know. But then I wonder, we're looking at, it's been Fury and Usyk. There's got to be somebody somewhere, I guess, in the gym right now as a young heavyweight looking to take over. But what happens to the heavyweight division? And think about this real quick. Whoever wins and they go and fight somebody else, if it's not Joshua, if it's not Wilder, the names we hear all the time, not hearing Ruiz as much, but his name as well. You fight anybody else, Zhang, anybody, and they end up getting a flash knockout or a fluke knockout of whomever the champ is. Now they're the champ. What kind of representation is that of the heavyweight division? You know what I mean? It just, and I mean no disrespect to those guys. I just don't, but it's not like a lot of these other weight classes.
No, that's a good point. I mean, in back early 2000s, like when Vladimir Klitschko, he had Lehman Brewster had a belt at one point. He was a nice fighter, southpaw, but kind of in that same group, like the Joe Joyce type guy. He beat Sanders, guys like that. He always stood out to me in that regard. But yeah, I think the promoters collectively have to be real concerned about that, because this division could get real watered down quick.
Yeah, man, really.
Looking forward to this one on Saturday. Again, that's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, ring walk, approximately. So the card starts at noon, and that's going to be. I know that I'm getting on DAZN. I know there's several other outlets that are going to have it, but there's a couple other fights, gentlemen, we want to touch on. And actually, this fight here, Emmanuel Navarrete and Dennis Berinchik, is on Saturday as well. It's in San Diego, but it's going to be a late one, a typical midnight Eastern start time. So there'll be no conflict there. But Chops, I would like to get your thoughts on this one first. This is going to be an interesting one. This is for the World Light Heavyweight Championship.
Oh man, yeah.
Excuse me.
Now Navarrete, we all know what he's bringing. He's coming now. He needs to look well in this fight. He really does, because let's not forget, he's catching flack because he's not fighting Shakur, right? He caught flack. He just fought Hobson Sensei, right? He won. He didn't look great, but he won. Got dropped, not last fight, but fight before, 2 fights ago against Wilson. Yeah. You know what I mean? So Navarrete, he's catching some flack. Berinchik, I think this is his first or second fight in the States. So not a lot of people know him, but he's a Ukrainian. And again, Loma, Usyk, Klitschko brothers, one common thread, they're bringing it. So listen to me. If this goes to decision, I can't say there'll be blood because maybe guys won't get cut, but somebody's face and head is going to be knotted up. I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of leather thrown in this one, fellas. I'm ready. It's going to be good. Any
thoughts on this one, Justin?
Like Chop just said, both these guys are going to scrap. They're going to go at it, and I'll echo what Chops is saying about Navarrete. He's got to look good. He's got to prove himself. You got to look, like one of these fighters that's going to, take the mantle here and take on these bigger fights and get in the ring with these more talented fighters. So really don't know how this one will shake out, but I do know there's going to be some heavy-handed blows on either of these fighters. So yeah, it's going to be some fireworks definitely in San Diego on Saturday night.
Yeah, man.
I love how Navarrete fights. I'm looking forward to this one. Berinchik, I'd be honest with you, I don't know much about him. I know he's 18-0. Like you said, Chops, he's one of those Ukrainian fighters. He's going to bring it. He's also got the age with him too. He's 36 as well, believe it or not. 18-0. 36 years old. Now they're going to fight at 135, and what's interesting is that's right around, that's where Berinchik was last time when he fought, 134.8. But Navarrete was at 130. Now I know it's only a 5-pound gain. I think that actually benefits him because he's a strong guy.
Yeah.
He throws bombs.
Yeah. So, real quick, let me ask you something, both you guys, not to get off track, but think about this. Lomo, a Ukrainian fighter, who doesn't have a whole lot of fights. He really doesn't for his age. He has it, right?
Yeah.
Usyk only has 20 fights and he's 36. Now you got Baranchyk, Ukrainian fighter, only 18 fights. He's upper in age. Do you think, are these guys going, and I'd have to do a lot more research because I know Lomo and Usyk had an extended amateur career. Do you think that's what Ukrainian fighters do, make sure they have the extended amateur career so they don't, when they come in to be a professional, they don't have to take much wear and tear on their body before they get the championship fight? Because you don't normally see this in any other nationality. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. I was actually looking at that as well earlier today, and it seems like these guys have like at least one Olympics under their belt, and a Commonwealth game, things like that, and other tournaments that are in Europe. But I would think it's an interesting strategy. It certainly shortens the amount of time you have to make the money. So if I'm a fighter, I'm not crazy about that because I ain't making any money winning gold medals. That's nice.
I know.
It's nicer to win green belts.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what do you think, Jay?
I think the Ukrainians and like other, European, fighters and whatnot, especially Ukrainians, though, I think they have a lot of pride and they don't want to just make the jump to the pro level and then, lose 1 or 2 fights. You lose 3 fights and you're already behind the 8 ball. You're way down in the rankings and you're not getting the big payday fights, let alone championship level, fights to be a champion, whatever weight class that, they're in. So I think these guys really hone their craft and really work at it, eat, sleep, and breathe boxing. I know for a fact Usyk, does that. If you go back in recent years and watch his training and whatnot, these guys are relentless along with fighting as training too. They actually live the lifestyle. They're not just lights, camera, action, the money. They're in the gym. They're in grungy gyms, not, these world-class, facilities. They are Usyk, he's,
dungeons.
Dungeons doing his thing. So I would even liken it, into my world a little bit with Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting. That's what the Europeans do. They hone their craft every single day, day in and day out, 6 to 8 hours, relentless. And then when they make that jump to the pro level,
they're
nationals, or the Olympics, they are ready. So I think that's the same thing. I don't think it's no mistake that you see Baranchyk, Usyk, and Lomo. They're all older and they have, these 20 or less fights. I don't think that's a mistake or a coincidence.
Makes sense. I mean, none of these guys look 36, 37 years old. I mean, they're looking phenomenal.
And their body and they haven't taken beatings.
Nope.
You know what I mean? So you wouldn't think Usyk's fresher than 99% of all other 36-year-olds. I got to believe that. 20 fights, fellas, at 36. That's whoo. So who do you guys got on this one?
I'll be honest, admittedly out of ignorance, I've not really seen a lot of Baranchyk and I've seen a lot of Navarrete and I really like him. I'm gonna go with him. I think, I'll play it safe. I don't think like I said, I don't know what kind of chin Baranchyk has. I'm assuming it's a pretty good one. He hasn't lost a fight, although he hasn't really fought anyone of note. But I would say Navarrete. I'd be very surprised if he lost this fight.
Okay. What about you, Jay?
Again, with Drew, not really knowing, admittedly, a whole lot about these two guys. But if I have to choose, one or the other right now, I'm going to say Baranchyk. I'm going to say he's going to drag him into the deep end. And, like I talked about, honing their craft and having a lot of pride and whatnot in the skill set. And a little bit what I saw with Navarrete, too, he can get a little reckless. So I think if he gets pulled into the deep end, I think that he'll struggle.
Okay. Point. I would say this because of course, Navarrete, we all know, but I've been watching Baranchyk for years. I've been looking, been on my radar a little bit because of Lomo, Usyk, all those other cats, just whatever. Now, to me, of European fighters, Lomo has a deep toolbox. To me, Lomo does.
Yeah.
Usyk, I don't say his jab is nice. I'm not saying he's a big power puncher, but he works hard. He's grimy. You know what I mean? So, and having said that, and with the Klitschko's, whatever. But so Baranchyk doesn't have a huge toolbox, but he's definitely got a puncher's chance and he's got a solid chin. Now, if he ends up beating Navarrete, it's going to be, to me, by a knockout, or he'll end up knocking Navarrete down as many times as Garcia did Haney. But I'm going skill set. I'm going with Navarrete in this one. I'm going with Navarrete.
It's going to be a good fight to watch. It's going to be fun.
Ooh, leather's flying, fellas. Leather is flying in this one.
This one should be fun, too. This is a week from Saturday on May 25th, and this is a rematch.
Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, yeah. Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall. This is the second fight, and about 2 years ago when they fought, Catterall put Taylor down. And at the time, Taylor was an undisputed champ. I want to say that was at lightweight at the time. And then he got a controversial split decision. And they've been wanting to do it again. But then Taylor had a couple injuries. In between that, he also lost to Teofimo Lopez. So, this is going to be interesting. They don't like each other. Chops, your thoughts on this one?
Well, first off, I had your boy. I did. I had Catterall winning. And I want to, again, fellas, I wish I'd have kept the scorecard with them. I think I had him up like 115, 112, or 115, 111 with the knockdown and everything. But it was also in Scotland. And your boy Taylor had some home cooking. I honestly believe that that's what that was. That was good old home cooking. And that's why he got that. That's me. That's why I think, Taylor got the win in the first one. But I had your boy, I had Catterall winning that first one.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the home cooking because one of the judges was actually downgraded after that fight as a result of the decision.
Yeah. And now I think they're in England. Now, so I give you got to give Taylor a lot of credit, though, because you're going to go in hostile territory. I don't care what you say. If you watch that fight as a competitor, you lost. You lost. And he knows that was home cooking. So now he's going to go back to Catterall's spot. Woo, in it, fellas. That's ballsy. I'll give Taylor his props. He's ready to fight. He's ready to bang.
How do you see this one shaking out, Justin?
I got to go with Catterall with this one. Taylor was the recipient of hometown discount. Like, you said and Chops has said, these guys hate each other. Like you said, Catterall put him down. I think he's going to overwhelm him. I think he's going to show out and finally just, put this thing, to bed.
You got a prediction on this one, Chops?
Oh, yeah. I'm going Catterall. I think at home, pissed because the way it went down last time, he's going for that knockout. He's going for that knockout. Now, it may be a TKO, but Catterall's going for that knockout, fellas. He's going for that knockout.
Yeah, I'm gonna say a TKO round 10 on this one for Catterall. I believe that thoroughly. I feel like, again, I didn't have my scorecard with me. I felt like Catterall won that first fight, and I also felt like obviously Taylor seemed to be almost a little bit, lost a half a step in that one. And then in the Lopez fight, you saw it was glaring. Maybe he's hit a wall. I don't know. But I think it would take something special for him to find another gear or another level. And I don't think he's going to do it.
And fellas, here's the crazy part. Taylor had been fighting once a year for like the last 4 or 5 years. So let's think about it, right? So think about this. Last fight, he loses, goes the distance, and loses unanimous decision to Teofimo.
Mm-hmm.
He lost, fellas. He lost, right? So on to your boy Catterall. So having said that, to me, Taylor's coming off 2 losses. And even if you want to say technically, no, Mike, he's 1-1. It's official in the record books. He's 1-1. Okay, but he can't feel good about himself. And I can't believe he didn't take any sort of a tune-up before this one. I don't care. He figures I'm a champ or I'm champion status. I'm champion level. I don't need tune-ups. Fellas, I don't know, man. We'll see. It's almost a year since you fought Teofimo. Almost a year. So we'll see how this shakes out.
Justin, you got any closing thoughts on this one?
Just overall, great to see another boxing, weekend. This is good for the sport of boxing, and hopefully this will carry it on and we see the bigger fights. There's already, talks of Canelo possibly fighting Bud Crawford, probably late this year or early next year. So I don't know if it'll happen, but those talks are, and then we had Garcia just yesterday calling out Benavidez. I'll fight you. And Benavidez going back to him on Instagram saying, send the contract. I'll fight you, so these guys want to fight. It's just a matter of, getting these promoters together, making sure the dollars and cents add up and then putting pen to paper. So it's exciting. So we'll see what happens.
And J Money, you make a great point, like the promoters, because here's my thing, and I'm picking this number arbitrarily. Okay, we're splitting $100 million. You get 60 and I get 40. No. You get 55, I get 40. Fellas, really? We're arguing over 5 million? I mean, and that's what bothers me, because if truly the fighters want to fight, the fans want to see it, you got two old guys who can't do it anymore, is in the promoters, and they're what's holding it up. You know what I mean? But honestly, last week, Kambosos, and I can't even think of Lomo. Kambosos and Lomo. That was a great one on ESPN, fellas. That was a good one. Now they're running it back with Catterall and Taylor. These are great fights, even though they're not championship fights or like a lot of the big names like that we would know. I think these are great fights on regular TV, because these type of fights will get the average fan interested back in boxing. It's not going to be a Mayweather fight where it's tactical, where you're just outpointing them. Last week, this week, these cats are throwing leather. Last week, Lomo, Kambosos. This week, Navarrete and Berichek. Next week, fellas, boxing is really stepping up, and this is what they need. This is really what they need. I'm excited about the world for boxing right now.
You know what I need from boxing, though, personally, I'm being selfish here, is they can't be like Spencer Torkelson here at the Tigers, where the season starts in June. It starts in April. The year starts in January. I want to see some action in February and March. I don't want to go April. I mean, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I was getting.
I know.
Yeah, load up the early months with these big level fights. Let's not wait till June, July, or heck, the end of the year.
And I think they tried with Fury, but of course that gets postponed. What a shocker that was. That you're hanging your head on. Nah.
See, boxing needs to get people, like Chops just said, get people involved. The regular fan having these fights on ESPN and whatnot. Like we talked about before, the UFC having an oversaturation of fights. They're on, all the time. So boxing doesn't need to get to that level, but they do need to sprinkle these fights, throughout the year and to keep these regular fans interested.
Yes. No, UFC has something every month. And I'll be honest with you, fellas, a lot of them aren't great fights. I like fighting, so I watch it. They're not big names, but Justin, you can see a good fight break out anywhere. I'll watch two old ladies at bingo fight if it's pretty good. So I'll still watch them.
But you get that with UFC on ESPN, the pre-card or whatever. You see a banger of a fight that you're like, whoa, who's this guy or who's this girl? I'm a fan of them and I want to see their next fight. That's what boxing needs to do.
We've had so many from last week, this week, next week. We've got 3 great fights lined up. Shakur Stevens, he fighting June or July. Shakur's coming here soon. So we have early July. Listen, fellas, I was never really a fan of Ryan Garcia, but I respect him. He fought whomever, whatever. Whether it was him, whether it was Haney, whether it's him. Those guys made that fight happen. You didn't have Garcia and Tank. Garcia made it happen. And I say Garcia because he was the common denominator in both those fights. None of that, I got hurt in camp, let's postpone it. No, your trainer called my trainer name, I'm not fighting. They got in the ring. If we had more guys like that, a lot of these Ukrainian fighters don't duck anybody. They don't duck anybody. That's if we need everybody to be like that. But you got some of these American fighters who are 13, 18-0, like a Berichek. No, I'm not stepping up. I'm not fighting any of the great talent because I don't want to lose my O. I don't want to lose my zero. You know what I mean? That's what hurts me, certain boxing.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Hey, Chops, before we wrap it up, you guys got anything cooking at the Original Sports Podcast soon here we need to check out?
Man, we're going to, well, and since they're in Maryland and I'm the lone guy out here in Atlanta, we're going to be on location here, a couple of breweries this summer. We're switching up. Matter of fact, man, we have the CEO of the professional lacrosse, Mike Rabel. He's coming on the show. Fellas, I'm not even going to lie. I had never watched a lacrosse match 2 weeks ago. Lacrosse was on ESPN. I said, okay, I'll watch a little bit of it. 15 minutes in, I'm like, I'm actually pretty much watching it. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not going to turn on lacrosse if boxing is on, football or MMA. Don't get it twisted. You know what I mean? But it wasn't bad. What I did notice real quick about lacrosse, whether it's hockey, the goal is much bigger than the goalie. In lacrosse, the goal is much smaller than the goalie.
Yeah,
it's much smaller. But we got things going on. You can catch us on all of them. The Original Sports Podcast on Twitter, on the gram, on Facebook. We're all over the place. We're on the Roku channel, so we drop every Tuesday night at 9. So please, man, join in. We appreciate all the support.
Thank you for joining us as well. We appreciate that. Justin, thank you. And for Justin, J Money, Detroit's finest, and for Big Chops, Michael Mills, this is Drew. Take care, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Don't forget to click that subscribe button. Click that like button. Give us your thoughts. Give us your comments. Hey, if we're wrong, check us. We have no problem with that. We
love it.
We love it.
Yep.
Embrace
it.
Not a problem at all. And we got a lot coming up. So we usually have content out every week, especially with boxing now getting heated up now, the kind of the doldrums of football. And, now it's we got the NHL and NBA playoffs going on, but right now we're going to be focused on boxing and probably a little bit of football coming up because we're always about the NFL and college sports. So take care, everybody. And thank you for watching. We'll talk to you soon. This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. To subscribe to the podcast, simply click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel's homepage and give us a like. You can also follow our audio podcast on multiple platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts, just to name a few. Give us a follow on Twitter. Our handle is @SportsPPodcast to check out our latest releases. Thank you again for watching and for your support. Remember, when you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula Podcast.